Yeah, I read the script just before Christmas, and it was an earlier draft. I met up with Matthew, and he sort of said, "Oh, I'm still working on it. There's still little bits and pieces, but it's got two fantastic twists in it," and that immediately sort of turned me on to it. I thought, "Wow, this is really, really interesting." And it's difficult to talk about without giving too much of the story away. But my character sort of, you find out something about him halfway through the film, which hopefully you didn't have any idea was going on until that point. So it's almost like playing two different people, which is fantastically exciting for an actor, you know. When we first meet Barnaby, he's a young man of some wealth who's met a Spanish girl, fallen in love with her, and almost immediately proposes marriage. And she sort of somewhat reluctantly, not reluctantly, she's a little confused as to whether she wants to do it so quickly, but she does agree to marry him. And certainly for the first half of the film, we then sort of follow what happens to her in her life, and my preparations for the wedding and excitement and what have you. She meets somebody else, and something starts to happen there, and my character slightly gets wind of the fact that all isn't entirely well, but is still quite keen to marry her. So that's the sort of the setup of the first half of the film, and then the second half of the film, it's sort of twisted completely on its head, and it's impossible for me to tell you what exactly happens there. I guess the joy of this job is that I don't have to pick a favourite out of those two different characters. I get to play both of them, so I'm really enjoying sort of finding the little subtleties of each side of his character. And actually, in real life, I kind of think that, not to such an extreme, but we are all different people depending on the company that we're in. You know, you'll behave in a certain way with girlfriends than you do with boyfriends, and do you know what I mean? So it's not completely outside of the realms of my frames of reference that people could behave differently in different situations. This is something of an extreme, but still exciting to find out about each of those different types of people, you know. I found Matthew to be absolutely amazing. This is the first feature film that he's directed, but I wouldn't know that unless he volunteered the information. I think he has an experience, I don't know where he seems to get it from. It's just a sort of all-round confidence in his script. He seems to know what he wants out of it. And, you know, he could well have made films before, and to look at the way he behaves on set, he seems very, very cool and easy, comfortable with it. And because he's written the script as well, there are certain parts in the film where you have to think quite hard when we're sort of working through it. Well, how did we get into this situation, and does that actually make sense? But because he's written the script, he knows exactly how it makes sense in his head, and so it's great. He can sort of explain it to us all very quickly. The wonderful people. We have a great, great laugh on set. They've, because Gaela's Mexican and Natalia is Spanish, and I don't speak a word of Spanish, but now they're slowly teaching me a little bit, so I can communicate with them. I heard somebody describe it as an urban love triangle, which seems about fair. Further than that, I don't know that I could do it in one sentence. For me, the appeal was that it keeps you on your toes. You know, you never quite know what's going to happen next. In fact, even better than that, you make certain assumptions about what will happen next. And the film keeps twisting that on its head, and it's very much a film about what we expect from films. And to that end, it had to be quite sharp, quite new, quite different. That's what really appealed to me when I first read it, is that just when you think you're in safe water, you know exactly what's going to, oh, I've seen this film before, I know what happens next. In fact, the exact opposite happens, or something completely from left field comes in. And that's what sort of attracted me to it in the first place, hopefully, is what will keep an audience into it. I'm not sure that this film does compare with Hollywood blockbusters. They are much more about the money that they have, the special effects that they can use. This is a film that's very definitely about characters, relationships, emotion, that kind of thing. Hopefully the best Hollywood blockbusters also have all of that. I think that's what keeps people attached, it keeps people watching films, makes them go back and watch it a second time. They just happen to have a lot more money to do it. This film is just very, very straightforward. It's plot and character. And that, I think, is enough of a hook. Plus also on an international level, you have Gael, who's Mexican, you have Natalia, Spanish, I'm English, a sort of multicultural crew. So hopefully we're not making what you would think is just a sort of a British film. It's something that will have a kind of international feel to it. Afonso, the DP, I'm not sure if he's Brazilian or Mexican, but he's certainly not British, so he's not going to make what I'd expect a sort of British film to look like. He's sort of far more colourful. He shot all of Almodovar's movies, so, you know, that's something that's going to make it look a little different. And I think the script is something that, well, I've never read anything like it, so hopefully the audience won't have seen anything like it.